Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bacon, I make plans for 7:45, and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Oh, gotta love Mondays, eh? Gotta love Mondays. Seeing you all here. Yes, Yvonne is with us. She is our special guest host with an incredible guest yet again. Can't wait to meet and have you all meet Ashley CASPERSON. She's really eager to tell us her tales, what Unbroken Outdoors is and what it means to her and what she would like you to gain from that message. So stay tuned to that. Nice to see you, Tony. Eric, nice to see you as well. Trisha was out fishing. Nice to see you were out enjoying some hard water, Trisha. Mike, how you doing? K-Dog's in the house. Curtis as well. Joe Moore's with us. Ryan Thompson, nice to see you, sir. James Shembry, as always, it's an honor to have you. Ed McKenzie, great seeing you on the weekend, my friend. Steve Murray, yeah, well said. Well said. Howdy, CFN friends. Hello from Horwood Lake Lodge, and I'm glad that Doris did that because it's a great segue for what our first announcement is. We have a few. It's going to be a busy night, so everybody, hopefully you've grabbed, some sustenance, maybe a snack or two, but hang on because this is going to be quite the ride. There are lots of stuff going on. Anyway, first and foremost, of course, the CFN retreat, August 14th to 19th. We are taking bookings, and I'm not sure where we're at because Warren and I have been playing phone tag, trying to get hooked up, but the week has been nailed down. And if you're interested in going and enjoying some great fishing, some great fun, and some great food, don't hesitate. Reach out to Horwood Lake Lodge, ask for Doris, ask for Warren, and you can come and enjoy some of this. Yeah, I tell you, it's everything you could possibly expect and then some. It's a fantastic lodge. It's got great fishing. And as I said, with our CFNers, it's just a really good time. So hopefully we get to see you up there. In the meantime, our Saskatchewan anglers, and I'm going to change the background for a second and remove myself for just one second. Canarsie CFN Ice Jam is going this weekend, February 5th and 6th. Walter wanted me to reach out and just give you a few updates. As it is right now, it looks like they've got 15 of you going out in the hard water. So that's a nice, safe number for everything that's happening with COVID. But big shout out to our Saskatchewan chapter, CFN chapter. I tell you guys and gals have been hitting it out of the park with this, and it only gets better. There are still rooms available at Canarsie Inn and Cabins. So reach out to the owners or reach out to Walter. He'll answer any questions you may have. But this is really cool. Big shout out to Diana and Gord Emperingham. And I apologize if I didn't pronounce that right. But these wonderful people are going to provide lunch. So they've got some sausages that they're going to be cooking and a few odds and ends. But to Gord and Diana, God bless you for that. So you guys, you CFNers are not going to go hungry out on that event. And as I said, I'll remove myself one more. If you are in the Saskatchewan area, I invite you to head over to Canarsie, up to Canarsie, down to Canarsie, whichever way you have to go to get there. and enjoy some great fishing. And if you see Walter out there, he's probably going to be, running around with a live, I'm assuming, on the Saturday, as well as a TV crew that's going to be showing up. But yeah, really, really good times. Also wanted to mention that there's an event coming up. I've been talking with Paul Taylor in regards to the Fishpalooza 2022. Talking to Paul, this sounds like a really cool event. As you can see, they're looking for one team. If you want more information, because this is a week-long event, it is a Can-Am type tournament. It's pitting Canadian anglers against U.S. anglers, and it's up in the Algoma region. Contact Paul at that number, 416-419-6614. He's making some special jerseys for the event. CFN logo is going to be on that jersey. But as I said, if you want to know a little bit more about that tourney, by all means, reach out to our good buddy Paul Taylor, and he will point you in the right direction. But some really cool sponsors involved in it already, and I anticipate that week-long event from May 28th to June 4th is going to be fun-filled fishing. And if I'm not mistaken, he did share some pictures from last year in regards to some of the fishes that were caught. So as I said, great. It looks like a great event. CFN is very proud to be a part of that, and we will be providing a prize as well. I also wanted to reach out to my CFN folks about an offer that our good buddy Sparkus Fisher is offering. Sparker Fisher Fishing, if you don't know, is a professional guide, and his fishing services are anywhere from Lake St. Clair to Lake Erie and all parts between. If you are interested in bringing out some new folks that maybe have never chartered, maybe they were going to charter anyway, what our good buddy Sparkus is offering is, if you bring 2 people to his guide company and enjoy a day out on the water, he will provide you a day of fishing at half price. So you only need to bring 2. If they're going to go out on a charter anyway, this is a great opportunity where you can cash in and get a half-day charter, you can get a charter out with Sparkus for half the price. So there's his number. There's his email. Reach out to Sparkus. And as I said, it's a great promo, great opportunity to get some folks out on the water. Last but not least, in regards to our meet and greet, and I want to thank Jen Harlow and Scott Lawton for reaching out and making this possible. We have 2 Saturdays picked, February 19th or February 26th. So if you are interested in going, there's the phone number there. There's also the website. Just reach out to Jen. Let her know what day you'd be interested in. And basically what's going to happen is we will pick the day that is the most popular. So if both days are great, that's fantastic. Tell her both days. So reach out to Jen and say the 19th and 26th is fantastic. And whichever one has the most likes or the most available people, we will pick that day. But I want to thank Jen for reaching out and getting that done. And I think there was one more that I had to. Oh, yes. Very proud to announce that the Winter Fish Fest is a go. And of course, this is the eve of the Winter Fish Fest. I can't thank Mike enough for all his help. And he's going to be coming on here very shortly to discuss a few things. But there has been a lot of traffic lately of folks that wanted to help sponsor this event. So guys and gals, children of all ages, we want to bring it to your attention that as of right now, because this is going to change, the Ugly Boys Bait Company is going to be with us. True North Baits has jumped on. Can't thank Jamie enough for that. River Reaper Fishing and my good buddy Corey. Mad Camp Plastics has also offered up a prize. North Shore Tackle will be in the mix. And a new one that I just got reached out today, Brown's Angling from Alberta has offered up a prize pack. And what's really cool about this is on Tourney Tuesday with Mike, we're going to be bringing on some of these sponsors and discussing themselves, their product, their company, like we do with our tackle talks. But because it's a tournament run event and it's basically the entire month of February, we're going to bring these folks on each Tuesday to discuss what it is that they're providing, what prizes, and what have you. So it won't be tomorrow. It'll be the following Tuesday that we start that, but I'll be reaching out to those owners and some of the new owners that are looking to jump on as well. But it's going to be cool. And I will say this, here is Mike to tell us more. How you doing, Mike?
Hello. I got Billy Bass saying hi to everyone. See some friends in the chat. Erica's there. Jeremy's there. Tyler Russell, how's it going? I gotta say, big up to Lloyd, because I try to go on the CFN Fish Off page every day or every other day and like everything gets posted and put a comment on every post. But the guy who beats me every time is Lloyd. Lloyd is there before I even get to read it. So thanks, Lloyd, for always being a huge participant in the community building on the CFN Fish Off page. Speaking about community building, Scotty, the Winter Fish Fest, February 1st is happening, which means Tourney Tuesdays is going to start happening, like Scotty said, not tomorrow, but come every Tuesday during February. We will be giving you some updates in terms of who's leading, prizes, and fish caught. So very exciting, very exciting.
Absolutely. Now, you know what? This is actually, I'm glad Michelle brought this up. Here in Ontario, we're in for a doozy of a storm. So all you winter fish festers, just make sure you're going out to waters that you're familiar with, because with all that snow that is, destined for the Ontario area anyway, Southern Ontario mostly, as well as our Quebec anglers, just be careful, because with all that snow, and we're talking like 2 feet of snow, Mike. This is
my gosh, again?
I know. I don't even know where we're going to put it, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
but
where are we going to put it?
Thanks, Michelle, for bringing that up. Great comment.
Now, some of you might be ice fishing. Some of you might be, you might have some open water. The Winter Fish Fest is February 1st all the way to 28th. Ice, open water, anywhere you can find Canadian water, it is a go. And every single species that you catch can also be inputted on the MyCatch app, because we do have an open category where it doesn't matter if it's a sturgeon or a trout or a whitefish. Everything in the open category is a go. So if you have not registered yet, go to cfnfishoff.com, and all the information is on this post right here. When you click these links, it'll bring you to the Anglers Atlas site, and it'll show you all the rules that you need to do. Plus, it'll instruct you to download the app. And if we go, let's see if we can go to the tournament page. A couple of things, Scotty, that we wanted to highlight. And I know you were on a pretty cool show with some folks from Anglers Atlas, but if you guys just talk about how our community will be helping future fishing research in terms of the data that is collected when participating in these tournaments.
Well, and as I said, Lawrence Gunther, I can't thank him enough for having us on that Bluefish Radio segment. And of course, we were talking to Sean, one of the developers of the app. And I know folks are a little bit hesitant about using an app because it might divulge too much of your private information, or perhaps your honey holes and hotspots. I totally understand that. This is not this app. This app is exactly what I've been looking forward to for a very long time, where we can bridge the gap between the anglers and the scientists, albeit the biologists of our MNR. And I'll tell you, the fact that it's going across Canada, and this app is available to all anglers and all CFN Fish Off participants, is exactly what I was hoping for a very long time. And it's here, and we are a part of it. As I said, we are so proud to be affiliated now with MyCatch in a big way. And the fact that we're going to run it here in the Winter Fish Fest, to get an idea of how it runs and the number of people that have already signed up for the app. Thanks so much.
Yep. And there's a key spot right here. Secret spots stay secret. We make sure that all your data is anonymized, and researchers are prohibited from publishing our anglers' secret spots. So we're going to test it out. I think it'll be way easier for our community. Basically, you grab your phone, and instead of opening your camera app, you have to open an app anyways. But instead of opening your camera app, you'd be opening the MyCatch app, shooting your video, and like your camera, everything you shoot with the MyCatch app goes into your camera roll. And just like in other tournaments, we asked you to take the video from your camera roll and then upload it to the CFN Fish Off page so that everyone can see all the amazing catches that are happening throughout the country. But the great thing is now you don't have to go to the website and individually input your catches because the app will do that for you. So now instead of 3 steps, there's only 2 steps. Take your video, post it to the CFN Fish Off Facebook page, and then that's it. The rest of it is automatically done with the app. So that's what I really like about it, Scotty.
Amen, brother. To make it easier, and some of us who need it easy, I'm glad, because I know it can be a little bit overwhelming for some of us who are just getting to know smartphones and using smartphones and not really understanding smartphones. This is an easy way to get involved in a really easy tournament that is free of charge and has some great prizes. And Shane Richard asked a question, Mike, is there a kids division? I can guarantee you, Shane, based on we have just the generosity of sponsors, there will be a kids prize guaranteed. In fact, that is going to evolve because we weren't 100% sure in terms of what prizes were going to be available for what. But based on what I'm seeing, yes, absolutely, Shane. Stay tuned. We'll tell you more about the kids and their class and age groups and how it's all structured.
Yeah, join us on Tourney Tuesday. But to answer your question quickly, Shane, largest kids fish will win a prize. Plus, there'll be a draw with every single kid's name in it that enters a fish, and there'll be 2 kids prizes: largest fish plus the draw. And if we look at all these people, and there's some, we know lots of. Who's that guy? Jason BARNUCZ. We got Brandon, the drag puller there, Adele there. Jeremy's on the line right now. I see him. This list, Scotty, it just goes on and on and on in terms of the number of people amazing that have already registered. And look at this bar. I'm not even halfway. And it just keeps going and going and going. Let's go all the way to the bottom. Whoa, a little bit too far. Mark Wolf. And now I'm going Bonnie Hibbert, Gavin Fox. Now I'm going from the bottom to the top. But there are tons of people registered. Here's the thing. If you are not registered yet and February 1st rolls around, that is okay. Registration does not close. So let's say come February 12th, you haven't registered yet, that's fine. But you book a trip to go ice fishing, and all you got to do is register before you go on the ice or register before you catch a fish. You could be sitting in the hut waiting for a fish, register, as long as you register before you enter your fish, because you can't enter your fish without downloading the app. So I suggest doing it now, but as long as you do it before you enter a fish, you are good to go.
Mike, what I'll get you to do, just so we don't push this any longer than we have, but there are some really good questions that are coming up here. Like, for instance, Jeanette, are we registering youth under our account? If you could go back and answer that either after the feed or at your leisure, I'd really appreciate that, because we definitely want to get to our ladies tonight.
Yep. So I will go through them all. I'll answer them. And then remember, Tourney Tuesdays, that's where we answer all your questions. And it is ladies' night, so I'm going to end. But it is one more thing, Scotty, if you show my screen.
Oh, yeah.
This hoodie I'm wearing, tonight is the deadline because we're putting in our order. So look at that, ladies and gentlemen, and all anglers across Canada. We have so many orders coming in. If you haven't put yours in yet, you have to do it tonight, because tomorrow we are placing the official order for this exclusive CFN Fish Off hoodie. So do that today.
Right on, Mike. Thanks so much, dude. Really appreciate you coming on here on the eve of the Winter Fish Fest.
All right. Have a good show.
Right on. And here's a word from our sponsor before we bring on YVONNE.
What is Flash Boost? Shimano designed innovative Flash Boost technology. It keeps flashing, which attracts fish whether in a pause or while retrieving. The mirror plate, which is fixed by a spring inside the body, vibrates with the lure action to generate diffuse reflection. Even if you stop the lure action, the inner plate will move and continue to flash, giving the lure a sense of life and inviting a fish bite. This is Flash Boost.
Now, Yvonne, I hope I can say this without being disrespectful, but that's sexy. That
It is. I just saw that video today and I shared it, and I thought I'm gonna get my hand on one of those this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you, they are very, very popular and very hard to come by. I know I ran into Steve on the weekend. He was at Gagnon's, and they are running low on supply. And it's because they're so friggin' popular. They look awesome. They look absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Yvonne, nice to see you tonight.
I was just signing up for the CFN Winterfest on my own. So, yes.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I signed up, made an account on my laptop, and then I just downloaded the app. So, and the reason I mention it is because around the same time, we have Ontario Women Anglers is also having a ice fishing challenge. It's for 6 weeks, starting February 1st to March 13th. We have 10 species. I know yours is open, and I can post the link. Women, you have to be an OWA member, but women can go to the link and find out what the of course, now I'm looking for the link and just find out all the details and registration.
Is it on? Is it on the website right now, Yvonne? Because I've got the link up here, courtesy of our great website.
Yeah, it should be on. It should be on the homepage, on the link.
Okay, and then there is the Facebook link. Thanks to Steve for sharing that. As always, on the ball.
Great.
But yeah, that's awesome. I invite all of you lady anglers that are part of our CFN community to join in.
Yeah, and I'm just going to post that there. So the second thing that we're doing, and it's not going to happen for a few weeks, but we had some sad news in our community. Chris McDougall, who has been with OWA for, I think we met at the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters Women's Outdoor Weekend about 8 years ago, approximately. And I don't think she had ever fished before. And so, she got back into it. She joined OWA. About a year later, she became a member. And she's been, very reactive in not just helping with the organization, but helping newer anglers get involved in the sport. And unfortunately, around New Year's, she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. So we're all quite shocked by this. I don't think anybody saw it coming. And so Chris, as far as we know, at this point, won't be returning to work. And her husband's had to take time off work. And she just got home from the hospital a few days ago. Her sister, Patty, is helping. And so as anybody knows, when you have cancer and you have treatments to go to, it can be costly. I mean, there's time off work, travel if you have to stay overnight, and, all the things that go with it. So we're trying to support Chris. We're going to have a fundraiser. And what we're doing is it's going to go through a GoFundMe page. And we don't have all the details yet, but it's going to be for every time you donate a certain amount, you'll be put into a free draw. And we're going to have, I don't know how many prizes. We're only just at the beginning of it, like collecting donations and whatnot. So I wanted to ask not just the CFN community, but the outdoors community in general, if they could help out in a couple of ways. If there's people that would like to make a donation of something that we can use as a prize, that would be awesome. Of course, sponsoring the fundraiser by purchasing tickets, and you can even make a straight cash donation. So again, we're just figuring this out, and should have details within the next couple of weeks. And I think that ticket sales and the GoFundMe page will be live somewhere around end of February, beginning of March.
Well, as one thing I can say for sure, Yvonne, is we will definitely be bringing this up with our legacy meeting that's going to be coming up next month, or this month, if you're looking at it, 12 hours from now. And we would like we will definitely be putting forth a proposal for the Serena CFN Slush Fund to have a donation to this.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
And, we certainly like to make things a little bit easier for Chris, because she's dealing with enough, her and her family.
Yep. And the kicker, just before she was to go home the first time, she tested positive for COVID. So that had to be delayed. And she's using a walker to get around right now because mobility is still a little bit of a challenge. And like I said, Patty, her sister, is there helping out. So we've been, sending lots of prayers and positive thoughts and trying to support wherever we can.
Well, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Where do I send money? Already eager to send money. Richard, God bless you.
Yeah.
And everyone else. I'm sure you're no different than I. When we hear a fellow angler that is falling on some bad luck, like Chris has, we certainly want to jump to help, jump to the cause. And Richard, good on you, my friend.
Yeah, we'll send you the info once everything's up and running, and then if you could spread it out to your community if you don't mind.
Absolutely, yes, Erica, great comment. This is our extended family. You're darn too. As always, I'm probably jumping ahead. Do you have any more announcements?
Nope, that's all.
Well, as I said, that was a tough one with Chris, but on a happier note, and as always, you bring some incredible guests to our Ladies' Night event each month, and this one, Ashley, is no slouch. She is busy on social media. If you are an angler or you are a part of an angling group or 10, you've seen Ashley. You've seen Ashley's work. She gets together with a whole bunch of incredible anglers as well. That's the part of Ashley that I really enjoy, is that she builds community. Yes. And people will say, is this really the time because it's COVID and whatever? Well, you know what? At the end of the day, no one's the judge. You will assume that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing to keep safe. But the fact, as I said, with everything that it has hit the media, and I don't even want to get into it, it's nice to see a bright spot that we can get back to normal and get back to building community. And as I said, Ashley does a fantastic job of that. And she's not only a great angler, as you can see, she's also a fantastic hunter.
Yes, and a competitive archer.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
What else is
Superwoman?
Well, you know what? Not all superheroes wear a cape, but in this case, Ashley, we might as well introduce you to the broadcast. Great to see you. Welcome,
Hi.
Ashley.
You guys have me blushing over here.
I'd say I was blushing too, but that's usually just my blood pressure. But I do want to touch on the unbroken outdoors. And to be honest with you, I usually do my homework, Ashley. And as I mentioned before we went live, I just didn't have the time. But I'm really interested and intrigued. What is unbroken outdoors?
So unbroken outdoors is something, it's important to me. It's something I'm very passionate about. I started it in kind of on the low key without making anything public in February of last year. And it all started from going through a very hard period that I went through. And I really found the outdoors was what grounded me and what kept me moving through all of it. I started Unbroken Outdoors because being someone who I'm sure most of you know, I'm not from Ontario. I moved here about 10 years ago from BC. I'm from North Vancouver, BC, and I come from a family that does not hunt or fish. And when I moved here, it was very intimidating to get into the industry. I remember one of the first pages I joined in 2013 was, I think it's John White's board, Lake Simcoe message board.
Yeah.
And great page. But I found it was really hard to get the nerve to kind of ask questions, to really kind of find my place within the industry or even within the sport. And I ended up getting my hunting license. The first person I talked to or got my first rod in Ontario from was Tom Britton over at the Bait Bucket. Wow. And I remember literally asking him, I can't really afford this right now. Can I scoop minnows part-time for you? And he goes, no, don't worry. I'll set you all up. And he got me set up with a rod and a reel combo. And I kind of just took off with not knowing anything of what I was doing and caught some fish. So I was even more excited.
That's awesome. And Yvonne, you can certainly attest to, it being a little bit difficult for a woman and a woman being intimidated in getting into the industry. You know better than all of us, the trials and tribulations of being a woman angler in this angling community.
Yeah, and what Ashley is saying is something I recommend, where, you know, if you are for any new angler, I really prefer to send people to like the local mom and pop tackle stores. I mean, they're usually sort of family-owned businesses. They've got great staff, they're knowledgeable. Whereas if you go to some of the more like the big box stores, sometimes you don't get that same type of service.
Yeah, 100%. And yes, there are a lot of women that are, you know, feeling the same way you did when you started, Ashley. So it's a sentiment that seems to be across the female angling community. And I know some of you prefer to be referred to as anglers as opposed to having the woman designation attached to it. But, you know, we're all anglers, you know, regardless of, you know, what our sexual background is, or what we are, whether we're male, female, or transgender, what have you. You know, as I said, we're all accepting of the fact that you're anglers and you have a passion for the outdoors. You have a passion for angling, and it means the world to have you incredible ladies here each month talking your stuff, doing your thing. And tell us a little bit about your social media, because I'll tell you, I don't know when you started, Ashley, but you have been extremely busy.
Oh yeah.
I actually honestly don't know how I have the time for it. I actually just started going back to school as well at night and on weekends. So the social media, I guess I had restricted my presence on social media for years, and wasn't really involved. I did a lot of the posts in social media for others, but I kind of kept myself in the background. So about 1.5 years ago, I started with an Instagram page of maybe 260 people, and Facebook about the same. And I honestly, it started as just being like, okay, I need to make myself accountable to get outside. I need to make myself accountable to get out of my house, you know, and just live. You know, aside from everything that was going on in my life, I needed to get outdoors. And by posting online, it was a way of being like, okay, I found I could like look back on that. So then days that were hard, you can look back at those stories and go, oh, that day I really struggled to, you know, get out of bed or get out of the house. But look how awesome of a day I had when I did. So it started doing it for myself. And then what it evolved into is now, I mean, I get at least a couple a week now. I get letters, I get stories, I get messages from people from actually all over Canada and the US, people sharing their stories with me, you know, how, as an example, I have one fellow in the US who messages me regularly now, and he goes, you know, I was in this terrible accident, and you remind me of myself when I was young, and I can't do those things anymore. Please never stop, because I'm living through your stories, or I'm living through your adventures.
That's awesome.
And like, I was really lucky. I had a mentor for a number of years. Many people I'm sure know who it is. And I feel so gifted to have had that kind of fast track, hardcore learning experience. And, you know, I really appreciate all the knowledge that was given to me, and to have mentors like that. Now I just feel like it's my turn to kind of, either if I can't be that for somebody, to, you know, introduce them to the people that can, or introduce them to people like YVONNE who have mentor programs. It's such a passion. And I feel like there's so many people, especially women right now, guys as well. You wouldn't believe how many messages I get from guys that saying like, hey, you know, I'm not really comfortable asking the guys this question, but can you help me with this? So it goes beyond just the women. And I think the biggest ultimate goal, I don't know where Unbroken Outdoors is going. I know there's a lot of things in the works. COVID has had some constraints on that. I've recently partnered with Enzo. I'm sure you're all aware of the Lake Simcoe Power Box. We have right now quite a number of purple boxes coming. They're stuck in the US right now, across the border. If anyone's going across the border to Michigan, please let me know. But we're doing a purple box, and it's to actually, we're going to do workshops. We're going to start with a women's workshop where you can build your own power box. And the reason we're doing purple is because the proceeds are a portion of that is going to go to either a local shelter or to raise awareness for domestic violence.
Beautiful.
Great.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I don't have a timeline on that. I am going to have my website up and running shortly. So bear with me, but all those types of events are going to be on there. I'm also working on something with James Meager of Meags Lures, which I'm sure everybody knows. I see the banner in your background there, Scotty.
Oh yeah.
What we're working on, again, super exciting. I don't think I'm hoping we get it all together shortly, but that again is something that if you pay attention to our new Facebook page, which amazingly is already almost at 15,000 followers or members.
Ooh, smokes.
It's the Lake Simcoe Ice Fishing. And join our page. It's awesome. We're going to be posting all sorts of events like this. We've got giveaways happening actually every week on the page. Peter Young has done a phenomenal job from Peter Young Outdoors and Photography.
Yeah.
So just a lot happening. It's really exciting. And I wish I could share more, but there's no timeline on things right now. I'm just excited.
I love the idea of the purple power box. And whenever that comes out, please let Scotty and I know, and we'll share it among our groups.
Oh, thank you so much.
So how old were you when you started doing some of these outdoor activities?
So this is the part that shocks a lot of people. Like my first fishing experience coming from a family that does not hunt or fish was with my mother making me up in Whistler in BC digging for my own worms. And I had what I think it was a Hot Wheels youth kids fishing rod. And I was absolutely traumatized because the first fish I hooked, I lost my rod in the lake. Wouldn't buy me a new one. So that was that. And then the only person in my family who was passionate about fishing was my grandfather, who actually passed from cancer about 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. And the way he taught me to fish is very different. We would take like European rye bread, roll it into balls and spit in it, and just sight fish off the top of the house. We used to go houseboating every year with the family. And that's what I thought fishing was, sight fishing. So I'm sure you can imagine how excited I am when we can sight fish on Simcoe here. But then I didn't really fish at all or hunt at all or anything. And when I moved away from my family to Ontario, I'd moved to Toronto, and, you know, I was kind of sick of the crowds, the lifestyle down there, and I moved up to Barrie. And I was absolutely amazed when I looked out my little apartment window and I saw all these huts, like a whole village on Simcoe. Because I'd never even seen or experienced ice fishing before. I was like, I'm doing that. Like, I have to do that this year. And I actually caught a whitefish my first time ever out on Simcoe. I don't know. I think the fish just like me. Using it was a buckshot. I remembered still, it was like, teal and pink. I thought it looked cute.
Is it that one there, Ashley?
No, that was my first whitefish, I believe, of the 2022 season.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was with Leanne Healy, James Meager, and a couple other people. I think Matt Clark was there as well. It was a really fun day, but I'm sure we all know that itch you get for the first one of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. Oh yes, 100%.
But I did find a picture the other day on my computer of my first ever whitefish. Maybe I'll post it up on Instagram later.
Right on.
I don't know how I'm holding it. The whole thing's just a disaster, but it's there.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Yvonne.
I was just wondering, like, you have a lot of people that contact you. If they're newer anglers, do you have sort of advice to give them, you know, where they start off with, you know, whether it's gear or, you know, do you start with pan fishing, or what would you say to them?
My biggest thing is, I mean, I'm someone who I like to throw myself right into things. But my best advice would be, you know, kind of ignore all the asking too many people for advice, because everyone's going to tell you something different and recommend something different.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody you trust, or someone, you know, even people like Yvonne. You can message myself. A lot of us are here to answer your questions, and you don't need a lot. Like, even myself now, when I go, say, ice fishing, my tackle box is about this big. Yeah. And, you know, you don't need a lot. Just don't spend your money on all the things, but get a couple good items learn with those, and then you'll find out too where your passions are and what species you like and what type of fishing you like, and then that's where you can get more fine-tuned.
Couldn't agree more. Less is sometimes more, and
Yeah.
Again, great advice. I can't stress that enough myself.
In comparison to what I used to bring out in a boat, it's almost nothing. Like you said, it's like maybe one tackle tray, 2 or 3 rods, and just bare bones now. I don't want to pull all that
stuff. I love too. Like I think one of you touched on earlier, supporting your local stores. There's Elwood Epps, there's Trombley's Tackle Box. I mean, Ramey, Logan, over at Epps, you've got Megan and Corey. They are all so helpful. And I know like Megan and Corey, like I bought my first fish finder from Megan at Epps Fishing, and I think it was 2013 or 14. And I mean, just the support you get from them, even like they don't even forget you. You can walk into that store a year later and they still remember you. So definitely try to support local, especially, don't be scared to ask these guys questions because they're not going to judge you. That was one of my biggest fears. And it still is when the other day not the other day, but this past open water season, I wanted to get into muskie fishing. And yeah, I talked to James and Greg Emile and all those guys. But when it came to going in the store, I was still intimidated to say, okay, well, like, what should I buy? Because you almost feel like you have to go in there with a purpose of what you want. But these guys that's why they're there. They're there to help you.
Yeah. Ashley, the only reason I'm intimidated is because of the price associated with muskie fishing.
Yes. Yes.
Holy smoke.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bob, go ahead.
but even though with muskie fishing, yeah, I mean, your rod and reel, depending on what you get, probably costs you it depends what you buy, right?
Yep.
Depends if you do what I did the first time I went and start casting with the wrong rod, the wrong action rod, the wrong wheel, and I blew my reel up. So yeah, ask the guys in the store and make sure what you have is set up right for it.
Yeah, that's true.
We've got Christina who wanted to congratulate you, and I'm just here it is there. I didn't know this about your archery prowess, but she wanted to congratulate you on some incredible achievements, such as scoring 739 in the 3D Ontario Archery Championship, record from Bear at 648 pounds in 2017, and recently your perseverance going solo scouting and skinning your bear with a 28-yard lung shot. This is why we love K-Dog. She is so informed. And
if anyone does want to read my 2020 bear, Spy Point did a blog on it. It's on my link tree attached to my profile. And you can read the story there about also why hunting's so important to me. And that's another area where just because I've been focusing lately on fishing and putting that out there, that's because that's what season it is. If you have any questions about getting into hunting or anything to do with hunting, feel free to reach out with that as well. That's where I overcame a lot of my own internal fears and my confidence. And like, I'm going to be putting up a few YouTubes this year. I did film all my hunts, all my scouting, everything last year, or for the last 2 years now. Last 2 years, I did successfully fill all my tags. I shocked myself. I honestly, especially the 2020 season, I suffered a lot of, really doubting myself doing it completely alone. I'd never done it alone before. And it just made me feel so good. So I may even do a couple seminars coming this spring.
Cool.
I don't know yet, obviously, depending on COVID, if that will be online or if we'll be able to actually set something up, but I will keep everybody in the loop. And again, it will be on my website.
Spectacular.
Great. This woman never stops.
No.
She works full time. She goes to school and she's outside all the time.
Yeah. The Energizer buddy just threw in the towel.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's no way you can keep up with this one. Any more questions you have, Yvonne?
No, I was just going to ask do you have a hunting or a fishing story that, is very, very memorable, very close to you that you'd like to share?
Which one? I would say it was my Ontario black bear in the fall of 2020. It was my first completely solo hunt. I'd ever done everything from beginning to end on my own. I went, there was excitement, there was fear, there were tears at some point. I actually had my four-wheeler flip on top of me and proceeded that same day to climb up a tree and hang a tree stand. I think I actually shared in my stories how I would not be hunting the next day because I could barely move. But I set all these goals. And even though when I started, I didn't actually think I'd achieve them, which again is why I started with the social media. By sharing my story, I felt like, okay, I gotta finish this now. Now I've got all these people following, asking me questions, being like, oh, like, when are you going? And oh, I'm following your story. And that's when I actually, like, I bow hunted. And I remember when I actually let that arrow go, I was like, oh, like, I actually did this completely on my own. And I don't even know how to explain that feeling to anybody. It was very surreal, very emotional.
Empowering.
I was literally shaking in the tree, not because of shooting the bear, but literally just because of everything that was going on in my life and the fact that I still was able to, like, almost prove to myself that I could do that. And I just now, like, I've been, again, very lucky over the years. I've harvested a lot of animals, and I'm at the point that I just want to pass that on. And I want to see other people experience what I did. Mm-hmm. And I mean, especially if you're a new bow hunter, I mean, bear hunting, I know it is controversial in some areas. I know, being from BC, it's quite a controversial species to hunt.
Yeah.
But if you're getting into bow hunting, it's also one of the best for you. I took Leanne Healy, I took Cassandra Dixon out last year. I mean, and even just seeing, like, Leanne was the first person I kind of took under my wing to go do this with. And her face when she got it, I was like, I know that feeling. Like, I know how you feel right now. And so many of us, especially women, either you rely on your partner or your significant other and don't necessarily believe you can do it yourself, but you can. You absolutely can. And you'd be amazed how much information you know.
Awesome. And that's a sense of empowerment.
It is.
That you did it. You did everything from start to finish on your own and had a successful harvest.
And you really have to put yourself in that position to really know what knowledge you do have.
Yes. Yep.
100%. Well, listen, as always, Yvonne, you bring on an incredible guest that has a wealth of knowledge. And if there is any question that did not get answered, by all means, please put it in the comments if you haven't already. I'm sure Yvonne and Ashley will go through the thread after this is done and answer any questions you may have. And if you are a guy like me and you reached out to Ashley and asked for some fishing and angling advice, don't be ashamed.
It makes me feel good, guys.
Absolutely. You weren't supposed to tell Ashley. Anyway, it's all good.
I didn't say who. And there's a lot of them.
Yeah, it's all good. Thanks very much, Yvonne, again, for putting on yet another great show.
Yeah.
And
we do have a giveaway. I'll post it tomorrow. It'll be something from Ashley's a conversation tonight, and the prize is a Shimano Sienna 500 reel.
Oof, beautiful. Fantastic. Well, God bless you both. Thanks so much for joining us. And, as I said, bringing some great stories and some great memories that you shared with us as well, Ashley. Mm-hmm. Keep up the great work.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me on the show. I was absolutely shocked when Yvonne called. I really appreciate it.
It doesn't seem like unbroken outdoors to me. It seems very much intact, but nonetheless, it is what it is. You gals have a great night, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, so Ashley. Much.
All right, here's a word from our sponsor before we bring on Big Jim. I meant to say Big Jim and the rest of the panel.
Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka, indeed. Fellas, I'll tell you, it's a tough act to follow. That Ashley is one busy gal, and as I said, hosts some incredible adventures and some journeys. I'll tell you, Yvonne never ceases to amaze. Always brings on some incredibly exciting and interesting gals that are in our angling community, and I'll tell you, this was no different.
Yeah, she was kind of infectious.
Oh,
Right?
yeah. Yeah.
Even the passion, you could sense the passion, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, she does such amazing content. Like, I'm not big into TikTok. Trevor is. That's his thing. I do have a TikTok account, but Trevor's more than I am. And I do go on TikTok, and some of the stuff she's putting out there is great content, and it's a lot of fun, and it's upbeat. It's kind of what we need especially during these times, right?
100%.
You got it.
100%.
Real can do sort of approach to life. I love it.
Absolutely.
And it's good.
Lawrence is on TikTok too. He busts out his dance moves.
I play tic-tac-toe. That's as close as I get to that.
And I'll tell you, before we go any further, we do have a really big announcement for Thursday, but you're going to have to stick around to the very end. Who our guest is going to be this Thursday. Right. Really excited to share that with our CFNers.
It's not Trevor.
Is it Jason?
It was close.
He'll be shoveling snow Thursday if the forecast holds. That's what I think is going to happen.
No kidding. I heard like we're destined to get 2 feet of snow out this way.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Holy
yeah, we're looking at 30 centimeters again here.
I'm gonna call it right now, Scotty. I'm gonna give CFN Nation a big tip. Go fishing tomorrow, because a couple things. Before the big storm comes, okay? Number 2, you're at the peak of the lunar phase for the past 2 weeks is tomorrow. And it's also going to be pretty warm. So if you want to run and gun and really pound some ice tomorrow, and it's the first day of the CFN fish off.
Yeah, baby.
I got 2 Dexstars charging right behind me right now. I'm going for a big crappie or big pumpkin seed tomorrow night.
Get it done.
Yeah.
Hey, but I booked the ice hut for Wednesday, and I'm sleeping in it Wednesday night. I could just imagine, we're going to be stuck in there. We'll be surrounded by snow up
be there till Friday or Saturday, Lawrence. Like, you might need some flares, like might fire off some signals.
I'm just hoping our guy, Yannick Loringer, who rents this thing out, man, is going to come look for us the next morning, because
you might get an extra. You might get a free night, because you're going to be there for an extra night. I packed a few extra sandwiches, buddy.
Oh man.
Where are you going out, Lawrence?
Well, Ottawa River out of Rockland. Yannick Loringer, the Ottawa guy. Yeah, he's got his huts out there. And,
cool.
Yeah. It's my daughter's
spring down by Hawkesbury.
Oh yeah?
No, you in the hut.
No. Look for me in Hawkesbury. But no, it's my daughter's turning 16, and this is what she wanted to do for her sweet 16 birthday party. She wanted to go ice fishing and out with the snowmobile and spend the night on the ice, and but this is going to make it a little more interesting with all the snow.
Well, I'll tell you, we've got a great question here from Christina, and she's asking you lads, what do you fellas do trying to get your frozen tent in the carry bag? And her clam bag is only 1 year old and has already ripped. Lastly, any tips to get walleye to commit? Live scope can be frustrating at times, seeing the action, but no commitment. Thanks very much. Ahead of time for the answers.
I use Trevor and I, we use a Eskimo 450 XT. It's a big, it's kind of a mid-size hub. It's 3 to 4 person hub. It's like 50, 60 pounds. I don't put it back in the bag almost the entire season, and I'll tell you why. One, when you take that thing down at the end of the day, and if anyone who's ice fish knows, once that sun goes down, it gets cold fast. I don't care what the temperature is. It gets cold fast. Mm-hmm. You got to deal with cold hands. You've been sitting kind of still all day. And the flap, the underside of the hut is all wet. It's all been frozen, right? So what I do is this is what Trevor and I do. We fold it all down. It's usually at night when we're doing this. We got our headlamps on. And I bear hug this thing, okay, as hard as I can. We got a tie-down strap. Bring it around. And the hut kind of is fatter in one part than the other. Take the tie-down strap around the widest part, cinch it down as tight as we can, put it on top of the Smitty sled, Then I got a ratchet strap that goes around the whole Smitty sled, pulls it all down. When I bring it home, I don't put it back in the bag because I want the hut to dry out. Because propane heat puts out a lot of moisture. There's ice and water around the wind flap at the bottom. I just stand it up in my garage, let it dry, and the next time I go, I put it. I never put it in the bag. Now, I'm always walking on I'm always on foot. I don't have a machine down here in the south. To invest in a machine, there would be years where I would never use it. So I'm always on foot. So that is different. If you're towing a hut, you definitely want to have a cover for it. What I recommend some people do is if you have a large bag, a large hub, take your bag to a seamstress, and if you have to, have it updated to a full zipper. So my Eskimo is one that has the cinch cord at the top. It's not a bad size bag, but I had a good friend, Jason Ford from Hamilton. He took his to a seamstress, and she added a full zipper along the side. I believe Otter has that. And it just fits in the bag so much nicer if you have a full zipper on it. So
you know what I got? I got those goalie hockey bags, because the goalie bags are longer than the regular hockey bags. They're tough, they're vinyl, they got a good zip, and you can get them for really cheap, on sale sometimes. They're not expensive, and they hold a lot of kit. They hold my big tent and a few extra things I throw in there. So they're just a much cheaper, much more robust solution. But you're right. I don't put mine away either. Like, I bring it home and I just stand it in the basement, so let it dry.
Some great advice there, and I will let Jim take the question about the finicky walleye.
I just wanted to mention first about the putting the huts back in the bags.
Yeah,
I think maybe on 3 occasions in my life we've got one back in a bag. Okay, and that would count for doing in-store seminars where they're not frozen. So if it takes 6 guys to get it back in the bag and they put it back in the bag, what I had when I never really liked them. I always liked the flip over, and I had a piece of canvas that had straps on it that were like 5 feet long on each side, and the canvas was like probably 5 feet long, maybe 6 feet long, about 3 feet wide. We laid it in the piece of canvas, and the straps just went around it, tied in a knot on both ends, so it never really got sealed up. And then when you got home, you'd let the heat get to it, open it up in in the back room or the basement or in the living room, whatever. You just got it open to get it dry, but it was really simple. Yeah, but when it comes to walleyes like that, and it doesn't make a difference. This is where live scope can be really frustrating to some people. Seeing not the sum to all. It doesn't make a difference who you are. I mean, I've watched the elite guys go out of their mind trying to catch a fish in the St. Lawrence on this stuff. Like, just because you know the fish are right there, and it's really, really frustrating. And I found that it's no different if you use a flasher, and I am really a flasher guy. I'm old school, but Vexilar still sells tens of thousands of flashers every year. There's a reason for that. Like the real time is just as good. My eyes can read a flasher just as good as I can watch them on a live scope. Not that I ain't gonna get one someday. In fact, I've seriously thought about it for ice fishing, but I don't do enough ice fishing anymore to to warrant it. But I find that by changing things, I'm really big for fishing almost all the baits that I use, putting on maggots. And something I learned from Gens, that was many years ago, another one of those little things that I never forget, I continually use, is you're fishing a small spoon, you're fishing a big spoon, you're fishing a jig and wrap, a TN, whatever you're fishing, you got maggots on it, they're coming and looking at it, and they're not biting it. So you bring it up, you put fresh maggots on it, you drop it back down, and they all rush it. Because now there's the juice in the water, from the fresh maggots, the scent, the smell. It's just something a lot more real. So sometimes changing things up or putting on really fresh bait will help. Because let's face it, lures catch a pile of fish on their own and with plastic, and I mean a pile of fish. But there's nothing beats a maggot. It'll help anything else. It'll really help. Something that I saw today too, I want to mention. Mark Elbeck, I think if I'm pronouncing his name right, he did a thing on the TNs, the TN 50s, the little jackal baits, showing why he thinks that they are so good in the water. And there's no other rattle bait does what this does. It's that simple. And he shows you in the water, because of that tungsten in the nose, You can see that little piece of tungsten there. It's just the way that thing, it'll bob just the same as a Meigs or something like that, or a Bad Boy or whatever. It'll bob exactly the same as they do, depending how fast you do it. He did a little film showing that. And I know that him and Randy from Creek Candy are absolute freaks on those lures. They are all over them. Yep. They got piles of them. They want to fish with them. They've been catching fish. Randy called me one night and was almost ready to drive to my house if I had a couple. They had caught so many fish and they had lost them to bite. It was just an incredible bite, and they were using everything else. And it was just one of those things, 2 years from now, it'll be something else,
Yeah.
For the way things like that work, but for the time being. But he posted it on what's on YouTube, but it was posted on Bass City, which is a store in Toronto. So if you just go to Bass City on Facebook, it's right there. You can watch it. It's really, really cool. It's really, really cool. Because you rant about them all the time.
Yeah. Now, Lawrence, the same question goes for you, and I think it'll be answered a little bit differently, just because obviously you have a vision disability. But when you get, I don't know how you get notifications that there is a fish on your screen or close by. But what do you do? What do you do if you're jigging for quite a while for someone that has a vision disability? What do you do to get those finicky fish to bite?
I do the same thing anglers have been doing for hundreds of years. I just assume they're down there. And, once we set up in a spot, we know we're in the right spot. We take some depth readings. We know where we want to be, like off a current break as close as we can to be safe, right? Some sort of bottom change, something that the fish will relate to, something, they'll follow the smallest little subtle change in the bottom. But once you know that and you know where to find it, once you find it, you set up and you wait and you be positive about it. And you always assume they're down there. I put the fish finder down there. I got the Lowrance. We put it between us, me and my buddy, or if we're in the double hut, and they'll watch it. They'll watch it, and they'll be playing fish and moving them, and the fish are coming and going, and they're going crazy. I just keep jigging, and I just assume it's going to happen. But I'm a big fan too of that second setup, and I use the drop shot on my second setup all the time with a little minnow, a number 6 Trocar 150 hook, super razor needle sharp hooks, right? They have that 3-sided point, just like a syringe, and a number 6 I think is perfect for the nose of a minnow. And just a 1/4 ounce, because I want that minnow to be moving it around a little bit down there. I don't want it to be pegged to the bottom. I want that walleye to come up. You know how walleye just they'd start chewing on the tail and they work their way up and then they rip it off your hook just at the hook point. You're left there with just some lips on the end on your hook. With this little setup, a 6-pound test floral line, a 1/4 ounce, a tungsten weight at the bottom, a number 6 Trocar super sharp hook. They just suck that hook in. And they hook themselves. And I made myself a little rod holder. I don't know if you guys carp fish, but they make these carp vital arms, right? That when the line runs out, it pulls over a little sensor and it makes a beeping noise. So if it's just a little tip, it'll go beep, 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 beep. But if it's a full run, it's a beep. And I made a little rod holder with that on it, with one of my vital arms for carp fishing. And I use a Shimano Sahara 1000 reel with the rear fighting drag. So it's like a little carp reel, right? It's got the 2 drag systems. It's got the dial at the back so you can fine tune the drag. And then it's got the lever at the back so you can adjust the drag on or off. So I flip the drag wide open. So the spool's closed, but the drag's super light, just like a carp reel. So when that walleye comes, hooks himself, starts to swim away, the line's peeling off, I just go over, pick up the rod, flip that fighting drag on the back of the reel over to fight position, and instantly I'm hooked up. I love the drop shotting. I love that little 1000 Shimano Sahara with the rear drag system. They still make it. Thank goodness. I'm always afraid they're going to stop making it, but I just love it. It's just my little tiny carp fishing outfit I use for walleye when I'm out ice fishing.
Very, very cool. Well, speaking of cool, we got a great question from Kayla, and I'm so glad that you asked this. and I'll let Jay answer. When it comes to maggots or waxworms, why do you choose one or the other?
Well, that's a good question. So I prefer maggots, but it's only because I have more access to maggots than waxworms. But I think that, and Jim kind of hit on this when we're talking about walleye. Don't be afraid to try different things for different species. Okay, don't just think that you need minnows to catch walleye. Trevor got a 22.5-inch northern pike, not a big one. He got one on the weekend on a slab grabber tip with maggots. Okay. I think what's important is when I go out ice fishing, regardless of what I'm after, I like a variety of things in my pocket. Even when I go to Bay of Quinte to target big walleye, I have my little container of maggots in my pocket. One, during the middle of the day when it's kind of slow, we'll perch fish a little bit. There's always pesky perch around when you're in that lull time. I'm not going to go in and keep fishing. But maggots tend to stay on the hook better. And if you watch, especially some of the great videos that like Dave Jens and others have talked about, you'll take your little tungsten jig and you'll pack on like 4 or 5 maggots. And what I like to do is I like to take the maggot and roll the maggot a little bit. Okay, there's a little bit of a science to this. The maggot has like a little head end with like 2 little eyes. I like to hook it through the tail, like just a little bit. And then you'll end up with like 5 maggots, like in like a little span like that on the end of your hook. And they'll all be wiggling like this, okay, if you hook them lightly. And then they'll actually stay alive underwater for quite a while. And then as you lose a couple, you can add a couple more on. And I'll just keep packing them on. Waxworms are bigger. They're a little bigger chunk of meat. And you can't put that many on. And you have to use a bit longer jig. So what you're going to find is with waxworms, you want to use a jig with a longer shank. Because if you try and tip a waxworm on a little tiny tungsten jig, the hook is so small, those fish will come up and pull it off really quick and you'll be annoyed. So little tiny tungsten jigs, like I'm going to show you guys now, something like this. Who even knows if that's going to show up there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'll pack 5, 6 maggots on that. That's a bigger tungsten. That's about a 5 mil or a 6 mil. But they both work great. Like, I think variety, like even this past weekend, we used maggots and we used minnows. And the minnows that we had, I always get a scoop of minnows. I like running a set line because we got northern pike cruising around. Also, a set line will help keep perch in the area. That's where we're targeting. You have a big emerald shiner under your hut just kind of sitting there dancing. It'll keep those perch in the area too. But sometimes the minnows you get are way too big for the perch. Like I call them tarpons. Like you get those emerald shiners that are like 6 inches long.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, huge.
Big scoop of tarpons. But then I just end up just using like the head or the tail. I just like take my fingers and squeeze off the bits I want to use, right? Because I want to tip the tiniest bit. But don't be afraid to downsize with little baits like that, because it's not just the scent of the minnow. Any scent on there is important. Sometimes I'll take like a slab grabber and I'll just put like a little bit of, like a, what's the stuff called? Like, Jim, the little sticky paste, like the,
not Podsky.
Oh.
No.
I'm having a senior citizen moment.
Anyways, but there's
comes in like a
I'm
little.
trying to think of what I have. It's like a paste, and I like it for ice fishing because you can take that little ball in the end of a slab grabber and just like cover that little ball with some paste, and they don't even need bait. Mm-hmm. But I'm always like switching it up. I'm always trying something different. And Christina, to go back to your point about the walleye, you just have to, figure them out. There's 2 things you have to do. One, I think you have to figure out what the cadence is. We've talked about this on the show before where you get them to come in, but you got to get them to chase. You got to get them to commit. Okay. And as you pull that bait away, you'll see them come up to it and study their behavior. Okay. And number 2, don't be afraid to downsize that bait. Don't be afraid to downsize it. That is when they're not in a good mood, downsize that bait. And a third tip I'm going to give, and I'm going to give a shout out to Ed McKenzie because we talked about this. Him and I hooked up. We connected before I went to my last trip to Quinte. And his big thing, and I believe in this, everyone wants to use 2 lines. Don't use 2 lines all the time. When you're in a hut with like 4 people and everyone's got 2 lines and everyone's jigging, You got way too much going on down there. Do you know what I'm saying? Focus on one line. Use one line. Work as a team. So your one buddy's using this, your other buddy's using this. Work as a team. Figure out what's working, and then switch it up if you have to. Yeah, sure. One of your buddies might catch a couple more fish than you because they use that hot bait first. But figure it out. Sometimes when those fish are pressured, they come in and they got all these options. And I'm kind of like that too. It's like, oh, you've offered me too much. I'm just going to leave. This is just too much for me. I'm out of here. Right. So those are my tips for pesky, finicky walleye. And trust me, I'm no walleye expert, but I've learned the hard way a few times. But I keep going back.
That having too many options sounds like Jim back in his dating days.
In his dreams.
Hey, that sticky stuff was called Liquid Mayhem.
Liquid Mayhem. Good.
Oh yeah.
I went to Chong's page. I just saw hashtag Liquid Mayhem. I know
that's it. That's the stuff I'm talking about.
Hey, Christina, you know the other thing you can do too is once you get the fish below you, is you pull out your big jig and you just drop it to the bottom, and all the fish get frightened to death and float up to the top, and you scoop them when they come up the hole. That's my favorite crappie jig right there.
Yes. Okay.
You know how much that jig head weighs?
Expressions shared in this CFN live may not be
24 ounces.
Founder.
Yeah, that's like
Look at the teeth
I love
mark
that
on
scent.
it, though. See the teeth mark?
From crappie?
Yeah, it's not from crappie.
That's actually a piece of fluorocarbon from a leader that Mark Thorpe had on when we were muskie fishing.
Right.
And we caught a couple of giant fish one day. We had a couple of others that for some reason, like you got the big whack, the rod went off and the rod holder was dancing. And I think they had missed the lure or changed their mind and gone by. And you can see even where I tied the knot just for the jig here for a joke is all hanging out of there. But you can see the way that stuff was just tore up. Yeah. And that's 180-pound test fluorocarbon.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, I will say this. One last thing I wanted to mention in terms of your presentation, and I know you are a big guy. You mentioned Randy from Creek Candy, a bead on your bait. I mean, slab grabbers have them. There's, I see a lot of other folks putting them on as well. They're taking the trebles off and making sure that they feather a bead on. Some of them are even coming with their own bead. Explain the importance of that bead.
I think it's just it almost becomes, I believe, I could be 100% wrong, a focal point. It's just something that's there. It's like, the way a lot of fish have a dot closer to their tail, and it's supposed to avoid them from getting eaten and stuff like that, but it becomes a focal point anyway. You'll see lures all have a dot up by the head. I don't know whether it's meant to mimic an eye. We give fish far too much credit. Like I got a buddy of mine, he's always saying, "Oh yeah, well they'll bite wherever the eye is because they know it's the head." No, they don't. They don't sit out there and think, "Oh, there's something with an eye. I'm going to eat that. It must be real." That's, we give fish way too much credit. They're just doing what they do.
Wow.
They're just doing what
I
they
will
do.
say this, and Jeremy, yeah, absolutely. If Jim catches a crappie on that jig, I may have to reassess all of my life choices.
24 ounces, boy. It gets to the bottom in 12 feet of water.
Well said. Well, I'll ask each one of you three before we go what you have upcoming in your world. Lawrence, you go first. What's coming up in Bluefish Canada?
Oh, Bluefish Canada. Well, hey, by the way, Scotty, thanks for streaming that session we did last week with the River Institute and Angler Atlas, and you were a great guest, man. But we had some great people on there, and I really encourage you to catch that. If you haven't caught it already, look on the CFN live stream. It's there. Look on the YouTube Bluefish Canada YouTube channel. It's there. It's in the Bluefish News that came out today as well, plus a little editorial. It's there. But you know what? I also interviewed that guy that started Fishbrain. Fishbrain has 14 million subscribers. The guy's raised $70 million. He's got 127 people working on this. This is like the TikTok of fishing, right? This thing is like social media, social networking. And he's doing it intentionally because he wants to attract young people to fishing. And he figures young people love social networking. They love those types of devices. So he's trying to build something equally as good as Instagram or TikTok. Something it's not going to rock, compete with those things, but at least it gives that sort of flavor, and it's a reasonable tool that kids won't find a joke. Young people won't find a joke. And he wants to bring those kids in. He wants to network them, feed them good information on how to fish, where to fish, and he's doing really well at it. He's really knows his audience. It's quite impressive, and I think this is where fishing's going. I think for a lot of people is they want to sort of exchange in real time. They want to share just like they do on everything else. And I think it's up to all of us to be aware of that, and not to poo-poo it necessarily, but to at least be supportive. Because if we're not supportive, they're just going to write us off as the old farts. So it's good to keep up to date on that. There's a link to that Bluefish Radio that came out on Saturday. So if you want to hear the Fish Brain guy, you want to hear Scotty, there's links in that in the Bluefish Canada news. It's on the Bluefish Canada website.
Fantastic, Lawrence. Thanks for sharing that. And yes, it was my honor, bud, to be a part of that great segment with some fantastic people that brought a lot of information about that app and what they're doing and how that app it helps them. Mm-hmm. It was just awesome to be a part of. Jay, you're up next. What's going on in the Real Angle?
Oh, geez. Well, I gotta give a quick shout out to some local folks again. And I did this a couple weeks ago. Collins Harbor. I talked to them last year about running an ice fishing taxi service, and they really wanted to contribute more to local anglers. And they did it, man. And they did it. Everyone should click on this link I just posted in the chat. You're going to be impressed with this setup. So Collins Harbor set up a taxi service on Long Point Bay. Now, Long Point Bay is an embayment of Long Point itself, the inner bay. It's a big, shallow bay. Its average depth is like 6 to 7 feet deep, a lot like Mitchell's Bay. Ice fishing season is hit and miss here because it's so warm. Investing in an outfitter for huts is a big investment. So these guys, what they've done is they've bought this marina that used to be called Shady Acres. They built a tackle hut with minnows and that. You pay $10 to park right by the ice. Then they have this huge Argo with 2 sleds attached to it. The first sled is like a little school bus. It's all open air. You get it, and then and the second sled is for all your gear. So if you're a DIY ice angler like me, I get there. They open at 6 a.m. in the dark. You load your sled onto their sled. You hop on their little taxi. They run you out about, I think it's 600 meters offshore. And then from there, you can venture off on your own. And you just wander back to their central spot, and they bring you back, and that taxi is included with your parking. And it's $10 per adult. So kids are under 14 are free. And that seems like a lot, but I'll be honest, guys. Think of all the parking nonsense that's going on with ice fishing right now. So I could take Heather and the kids down there. It's $20, okay, to park. All the parking you want. Kids are free. Hop on the taxi. Takes you out a half a kilometer. There's fish around to catch. You got to put your time in. And I'm going to say this too. And actually talked about this in the beginning. And this is my advice to everyone, no matter where you're going, whether you're going out with Collins Harbor or anywhere else, don't pack too much, okay? Because Ashley talked about how much tackle she brings. Keep it small. What's most important is you got to find fish. So what's nice about a taxi service is you got to cover some ground and get you out away from the crowds, away from the noise, being a shallow lake. So we're going to spend this weekend exploring more of Long Point Bay because you know what? We don't always have safe ice down here to venture around and explore. And I want to take full advantage of a good ice fishing season 20 minutes down the road from my house. So we'll be on Long Point this weekend. And hopefully I can still walk in the snowdrifts that'll be out there after this weekend. But we'll see. The Smitty sled is going to save the old ticker. So
Right on. Well, thanks for that, Jay. Last but not least, Jim, we have a pretty big announcement that is happening this Thursday. And you always swing for the fences, and she's out of the park on this one. Really looking forward to interviewing this chap. It's been long overdue. He is, I would say, we are all fans. of this angler and this prominent public figure in the angling community that has done some miraculous things as a Canadian to venture south.
He's excited too.
It's awesome, Jim. Absolutely awesome. So for all 25, 30 of you that are watching, I don't know if you can guess who this is, but I will play the video and reveal the secret.
That is a freak. Junior, tell Big Mama we're coming. Oh, man. That thing. Ooh, that is awesome.
It's going to be a hoot. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. it's going to be absolutely awesome.
I'm still working on the other one. It will happen. It's just getting it there.
Yeah. Dave Mercer, if no one knows who this gentleman is, you'll want to tune in because I at some point, I'm sure he's going to take over the interview and I will literally just be sitting back and listening to the
laughing.
Go on it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll laugh with him.
Right on. Well, Jim, the ice fishing episode is available of just fishing. Is there anything else that we're missing or we should mention?
No, I don't know. It's pretty quiet. I know I wanted to talk about some of the new Shimano stuff that's been introduced.
We'll save that. Yeah, we'll save that for next week because there's a lot of it. And
I still don't have. I haven't even got the spec sheets yet on the stuff and whatever. But they've re-engineered the Sahara. I hope it still has a rear drag, or we're going to hear a thud when Lawrence falls over.
Oh boy!
There's something to look forward to the next week, Lawrence. He'll be at home biting his nails, drinking. He'll come back. He'll be all grizzly. Hasn't had a shower. Almost in a panic because
red eyes.
Well, gents, listen. As always, it's just I love spending Mondays with you guys. You bring so much to the show, and you're all great personalities. And to Yvonne, and of course Ashley Casperson, thanks for joining us tonight.
Are they cuties?
Yes, they are. And if you're looking for a good hair jig, that's the guy right there that you want to get in touch with. In the meantime,
I'm having fun with the fancy stuff.
There you go.
Cool.
In the meantime, you all of you stay classy and stay safe. And with that big storm coming to all of you Ontario anglers, be weary, weather weary, as they say. In closing, we'll leave with a few videos from our sponsors. Again, stay tuned. This Thursday, 7:00, it'll be me, Jim, and the one and only Dave Mercer. Have a great night. Have a great week. We'll see you Thursday.
See you guys.
Can't wait, guys. Be safe.
Take care, everyone.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine